Hey there guys, welcome back to AFC Game by Game. I hope you're doing really well. So the other day I made a video talking about my expectations for Arsenal throughout the 2018-19 season. I was watching it back last night thinking to myself, I'm talking a lot here about Arsenal potentially being in the title race for the 2018-19 season. Now of course it's a very exciting campaign and one that we're all looking forward to. I couldn't stress that enough in my last video, but I really wanted to talk about why we've got to manage our expectations and why we shouldn't be putting too much pressure on not just Unai Emery, but the board and this team as well. I think Arsenal at this moment in time are in a very peculiar and exciting time for the club. It's a really interesting period, not just to see how things are going to develop post Arsene Wenger, but because this team is so young, so fruitful, and we've got so many new additions to the team. It's not an overnight process. I think we're all aware of that. But as Arsenal fans, as football fans, we're all very reactionary. Social media, the influence of that hasn't helped the way we're so quick to judge players. I mean, I'll include myself in that, there's no doubt about that. I've done that many a time in the past, but we are very quick to judge and we're very irrational at times. I think at Arsenal this season, as I mentioned in that video, a top 4 finish is the realistic target, and to be talking about Arsenal potentially being in the title race, I think was probably just a little bit overboard from me, but it's something that, you know, at least evidences my excitement about this Arsenal team. The way we've played throughout pre-season, the players we've got, the experience combined with the youth is all very exciting, but as I mentioned before, the pressure that is on Unai Emery to get this squad in the right position is monumental. As Arsenal fans, we go to these games and we expect so much from this team, and we're all going into that game against Manchester City on the 11th of August with really high hopes. It all really is pinned on that game because that's when we're going to see the real Arsenal. These pre-season games are fantastic. We won out in Dublin last night against Chelsea on penalties. We had a fantastic win against Paris Saint-Germain. We had a very good performance against Atletico Madrid despite losing on penalties. It has been a very positive pre-season, and then there's a lot to be excited about. Lacazette's firing in goals, Guendouzi's looking fantastic. The young players at centre-half, Mavropanos, Chambers, Holding. It's a very exciting team, there's no doubts about that. And I can't stop mentioning how much I'm looking forward to this season. But if we're seeing a process, if we're seeing a plan, and most importantly, if we're seeing improvements in this team, that's what I want to see. I don't want to see the old Arsenal creep in as much. I know it's going to be very difficult for some of these players because you've had that mentality instilled from the youth up until the senior level in the first team, but to get that mentality out of our minds, you know, it's great that Arsene Wenger was such a staple at his club, that he was here for so long, gave his best years to Arsenal Football Club, but he's gone now and a new era has to be brought in through Unai Emery, and I want a bit of stability at Arsenal. Last season in particular was very disappointing. We lost far too many games. We were abysmal away from home. We didn't know what our best team lineup was. And I want us to go into next season knowing what our best players are, knowing what the best team is, whilst also allowing opportunities for younger players. And just keeping a lid on those expectations for me is going to be really important. If we don't see the performances, if we don't see the results after the first 10 games or so, there's no real reason to be getting overly concerned. In this day and age of football, people are so quick to judge players, so quick to judge managers, and there will be an unbelievable amount of pressure if we don't get the right results from the get-go. But it is a process and it's something that's going to take time. Now, we bought very well, and I still think there might be a few more additions to come into this Arsenal team, one more possibly. But as I mentioned in the previous video, the way we've gone about our business is nothing but encouraging. Getting Ramsey penned down is paramount to this team. I think if we've got players like Xhaka, Torreira, Ramsey, Mesut Ozil playing in our midfield, and let's not forget players like Joe Willock, Maitland-Niles that are still coming through, and Guendouzi as well as Mohamed El-Neni. I think we've got a very exciting midfield, one of the best midfields, I don't want to say in the league, but certainly one of the most fruitful midfields that I've seen at Arsenal in recent years. I mean, a player like Guendouzi looks like an absolute talent and looks like he's ready to play first team games when called upon. Again, don't want to be a reactionary. I don't want to expect too much from these players. It's all pre-season at the minute, but the purpose of this video really is just to say we've got to keep a lid on our expectations because it is going to be a long process. We've got to trust that process, and I believe that there is no real reason for us not to do well with this team. My expectation, as I said, is a top 4 finish, and my expectation above that is for Arsenal to play well, not lose as many games on the road, and to see more young players come through. And I don't think that's an unrealistic expectation whatsoever. But to talk about Arsenal potentially being a league title contender, it's far too early to be talking about that. The way Manchester City played last season, and Liverpool as well, as I mentioned before, they're the two for me, but Manchester United are still going to spend money, Chelsea will still spend money, let's not forget Tottenham, they're going to spend money at some point, you'd assume, in this window. And Manchester City, the way they played last season with the team they've got, they don't really need to make too many more additions to compete for the title once again. So it'll all be interesting to see how it plays out. We'll know a little bit more after 10, 15 games or so, but if we're still in the hat at Christmas, if we're still in with a chance, then I think we can very, very subtly say that maybe Arsenal could be title contenders, but this season is all about getting back into the top four. It's all about getting people behind the process of what Unai Emery is going to introduce to the club. It's getting behind the players that we've brought in, and I think, as I say, if everything clicks, then there's no reason for Arsenal not to do well. We've got two fantastic strikers, two strikers that a couple of years ago I never would have imagined Arsenal would have playing for them in Aubameyang and Lacazette. We've got fantastic young players coming through, Smith Rowe, Nelson, Maitland-Niles, Willock. It's a really exciting team. The only thing that worries me ever so slightly is the defence, which I still think needs improvement. The only worry I've got there is that we don't have an imposing and powerful centre-half. As I said before, I'm not overly convinced by Socrates' addition. I would have much rather seen Arsenal brought in a big, powerful centre-half, someone in the Mertesacker mould with a little bit more pace about him, for someone like Callum Chambers, Mustafi, Mavropanos, Holding to have played off. At the minute, I think we've got too many defenders that are too alike. I don't think we've got enough height there in the centre-half position, but I'm sure there's a lot of logic behind that signing, and I don't want to judge Socrates too quickly. As I say, it's been hard to get really behind him during this pre-season, but I'm going to trust every sign that Unai Emery brings in. I mean, the addition of Guendouzi was fantastic, and I'm sure Socrates, an experienced, powerful addition to the team, will have hopefully not too many issues slotting in and proving my doubts wrong. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. As I say, the point of this video is just to say let's not be too reactionary. Let's enjoy this Arsenal team whilst it's playing some good football throughout pre-season. Let's get that one more pre-season game out of the way. See Torreira and Xhaka come back into the team. And let's take it to Manchester City on the 11th of August and show them what we're all about. Anyway, guys, please do drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe to AFC Game by Game. And as always, I'll speak to you very, very soon. See you later.